try to warm it up with a little intro like that. So we've got Spartan from everywhere really. You do a lot of podcasts, mate.
Yeah, I try to jump on anybody that asks me. I'm just a huge fan of talking about weed. So, and well, I already knew you guys from Shane's show, but with the growing with my fellow lads and all that. But I do the shows that I repeat do is I do GML show on Friday nights. I do growing with my fellow growers, which will be tonight after this show, and then after that show is the Michigan Bros Grow Show, all on YouTube. So I'll be doing 6 hours of streaming when I'm all said and done today.
You've got a nice supply of weed to go with that.
Oh
right?
yeah,
at least 6 hours worth. Yes,
for now. But I've been going through it, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
down to 5
At least
hours
one
left
jar's
now.
down.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. You want to show your jars off there, man. Make a noise in the background, like or something.
I got another one of these if I get this one empty. So we'll see. Yeah.
So this is from your own personal stash, from your home grow.
That one, that last one I showed you was that was actually really old. This right here, I'll pull out, is actually for UK SIF 420. He said he'd love to try some of the Spartan glue. Like he's shout out to him anyway. He's in all the chats. He's like UK? I am. This is a smaller bud of it, but this was sold to me.
Hold it by the mic so I can smell it.
Yeah, really.
This was
Stuff
sold
it in the USB port and spark, please.
The thing is it was sold to me as Gorilla Glue number 4, and it was an outdoor plant, and I went out and I cut a clone off of it, and then I grew it out, and I've seen GG4 before, pictures online and High Times magazine. Well, I soon found out as it started budding that this is not GG4. You can tell by the bud structure that it's related. To me, it looks like a cross. And if I had to guess, talking with other people like Jack Greenstock and everybody else, we kind of think it's probably either a haze or a OG cross to GG4. And but when I realized that it wasn't GG4, I am just one of those people that I'm a stickler for honesty, man. So I can't tell people this is GG4. So I changed it. Like I said, everybody changes the name. Here's my story changing the name. I changed it. I said, this is my Spartan glue because, I'm Spartan grown. This is my version of glue or whatever. I kind of just called it Spartan.
Sweet, say, man, you're gonna make some seeds of that.
You still pay homage, right?
Well,
that's okay.
Yeah. So I would have to self-fit to make seeds, but I don't know. Maybe someday that would be like a retirement project. I don't really want to get into breeders. I know enough breeders that do good job that I'll let them do that, and I just want to grow and smoke the stuff, man. You know what I mean? I love growing. I love the plant so much. I just want to grow it. I don't really. I would love to maybe. It's just I know me, and I know if I was starting to breed it, I know what kind of work that would be. I wouldn't do it half-ass. You know what I mean? So that kind of time to that I would want to put into it, I don't have right now. So maybe down the road, but not anytime soon.
What were you saying there? TG, was you saying something?
Nope.
I thought you had a question there. Monkey, was it you?
No, I do have a question on a different topic. I'll go ahead and change the subject if you don't mind, Spartan.
Yeah, cool, man.
No, I mean, I had heard once upon a time that I think you said your wife doesn't appreciate the taste of the canna butter when it's real grassy tasting, and you had a way to change that. And I kind of miss it. There was something about water. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Sorry. So I, for some reason, explain to me how this can happen. Sorry, I just took a hit and it took all my breath away. But I can go into the flower room, take a leaf with trichomes on it and everything, eat it raw, and be fine with that. But if I eat an edible and I taste that weed taste, it makes me almost sick.
Yeah, same for me, man. I hate the taste of weed in edibles. But I love the taste of weed.
Yeah, exactly. So
Burnt weed.
I spent almost a year researching how everybody else makes edibles in an attempt to figure out how to make an edible that's, for one, potent enough for me to, to the level I want,
right,
and to where I can eat it and not taste weed. That was my catch-22 is that I built up a high tolerance so that I had to keep putting more weed into the stuff, but it just kept tasting more like weed.
Right.
So my solution, at one time, you know, my best ideas come when I'm high. So I was high and I was thinking about this problem, and I got to thinking, I was like, I know that chlorophyll is soluble in water, which means that it'll leach into water. I know it is.
Right.
I wonder if THC is, because that's really what I'm after. That's the main component. So I looked up, is THC, you know,
Water
soluble in
soluble,
water?
yeah.
It said
Right.
THC. It said THCA is somewhat, like a little bit water soluble. Like you'll lose some, and
Okay.
but they said, but the interesting thing was you drop off that A, you decarb it, and now it's not water soluble.
Ah,
So I was like, sweet. So I
There's your
took
answer.
my material. I decarbed it first, and then I do a 24-hour water soak. So I'll take that material that was dry in the decarb, and then I put water in. I just put it in a big bowl or a big pan, and I put all the product in there, and then I just fill up enough water so that it starts to float. You know what I mean? I push it all down, make sure it's submerged, and I leave it in there for 12 hours. After 12 hours, I just strain it off, all the water out, and it'll look absolutely disgusting, but it'll be really green or really dark. That's great because you just pulled a ton of chlorophyll out.
All
Fill
the
it back up
nasty,
with,
the nasty tasting stuff is now in the water.
right.
but
So
hold
then
on
I
there for
fill-
a second, Spartan. Right, just for the listeners
Go
and the
ahead.
new guys, can you just explain what decarbon is for them and how you do it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should. That's an important step. So for me, when I take all my trim, I put it into paper bags. My preferred method is a paper shopping bag. So open up a paper shopping bag, it stays open, and I throw my trim in there. All of the moisture gets sucked out of the trim, and the paper of the paper bag wicks it away at just the right rate, so I never have to worry about molds.
It's how
Now
the
I have
greenhouse
dry-
cure their weed.
Yeah. I don't cure my weed in it that way, but I do cure my trim. It still works. I love it. So once my trim is nice and dry and cured or whatever, then I'll take that, put it in the oven. In, you know, if you have a glass dish or something like that, line it with tin foil so you don't have to unless you have a dish that you don't care if it smells like weed forever.
Yeah.
And then you can do things like seal it up if you're worried about concealing smell. Some people will use your mason jars and just cook them in there. Be super careful. Hot glass tends to break easily. So just be cautious of that. If you're putting it in a sealed mason jar, yeah, you're not going to have smell, but you're going to have to just let it cool off a lot before you work with it. Just let it sit in there and cool down really slow. I decarb here at 230 degrees, and I do that for an hour. It's a little bit longer than what most people do.
It is.
It's like 40 minutes as usual, right?
Yeah, I like to make sure I have full decarboxylation.
Sweet.
And I know this is another thing. I looked up the temperature that THC evaporates at. Like it starts to turn into a gas. And that's at 200. That's at 240 degrees. And that's what a lot of people will decarb at 240. I won't do that because I know I'm losing something. If that's the evaporation point. So that's why I go with 230. I bumped it down to 230 and I bumped the time up. So that's how that's how my brain
got it handled.
So I decarb the weed that way. Now all the acid, the THCA there's now THC and it won't leach into the water. I let it cool off. I don't put it in hot. I let it cool off, and then that's what I'll do. A soak. 12 hours in, I change the water, and so that then after 24 hours, pour off the last of the water, and then I just made a screen of. This is funny. I already had 2x4s from prior projects.
Okay.
So I just made a simple frame, and then my neighbor was throwing away a screen door that had a hole in it. So I just took that screen door and salvaged the spot that didn't have a hole.
I got it. Okay. Why not? Why not?
You know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Reduce, reuse. That's it.
I use that screen with my 2x4s, and it cost me $0 for a screen. And so then you just put that wet material, and that smells terrible when it's wet to me. And you spread it out thin on that, as thin as you can. And I have a dehumidifier actually. I put it right by my dehumidifier in my basement. So it gets dry air kicked on it all the time. And a dehu right there senses the moisture in the air, and it keeps the moisture down. So it works perfect right there.
Yeah.
And when it's nice and dry, then now I can use that to make either in my butter or in my oil, and it won't leach a bunch of chlorophyll into it, and you won't get that in your final flavor. And it's going to be fucking, it's going to it's going to make your flavor a million times better.
And it's a more of a golden color now, not that nasty green black.
Yeah, you don't get hardly any green anymore. Yep.
Oh man, I'm definitely down with that. I'm going to give that a shot.
Yeah, and if you want to go crazy with it, I mean, you can go by the color of the water. If usually after 24 hours when I pour it off, that water is really pretty much looks still like water. But if you were really, really picky and you think, oh, that's a little bit of green in there, I want it to go a little longer, by all means, just put more water in it and let it soak longer. Just get as much of it out as you want. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a great idea. The only problem is if I do it once, the wife's going to want me to do this every time. You know, and she and she won't touch it till it's canna butter.
Yeah, and it's such a long process. You add so much time because you got to dry. You're getting it wet, and you have to dry it again. So you're adding a long time to this process. So yeah, it takes a lot longer. But with almost everything in life, you know, the more you put into it, the better the product is at the end.
There you go. It sounds like a great idea. I'm going to definitely give that a shot, though.
Yeah, it's like water curing in a way, right?
Yeah, that's my next product. I've never done a water cure, and I might want to try that one time just to see. I'm worried with water curing. I mean, you're obviously going to lose all your water-soluble terpenes, though. So I'm a little scared with that.
I've washed my buds before, and that was nice. You know, different experience. You got to try these things, don't you?
With the washing, you're talking about just dipping it, and then you're out again, right? You didn't water cure.
No, like 10 seconds, just give it a shake while it's in there.
Okay,
yeah. You know, your water curing takes a long time.
Knock all the dirt off, yeah.
Like a rinse. That's what you did.
I think that was when I had the French, man, because I wanted to wash any, bug shit off or jizz, things like that. The bugs are going to leave on them buds, but I don't want to smoke.
Hey, I'm going to
They're having parties, man.
That first time I put my trim in that water and waited the 12 hours and poured it off, I almost gagged. I was like, what the fuck?
Okay, I bet you thought you ruined your weed right then, didn't you?
Yeah, but it was just my trim, so I wasn't too concerned. But still, I couldn't believe that was in my... I was eating that shit before, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you got
shout out to Big Jar Grows out in chat. He says I can vouch for his Spartan cookies. We had an event here. We floated down the river, and I got to met him and his wife, and handed out cookies that I made.
Special cookies.
Oh yeah,
Very
magical cookies.
Spartan strength. They weren't magic. They weren't magical, unfortunately.
Excellent stuff.
But mine are probably around. I always tell people they're around between, at least the way I feel, they are between 100 to 150 milligrams in a cookie. That's about that big around. It's a little small cookie, but it's got enough punch to make you feel it.
And it doesn't taste too strongly of weed. Do you
No,
do that
not
for
at
all your edibles? You do the same technique, or just the ones for the missus?
Yeah. I had 3 of those on that float down the river. It was a wonderful day.
Nice.
Yeah. And were you able to get off the river at that point?
Oh yeah, I also had this Kool-Aid that abolished.
Cool.
Yeah, and that had ours. We call it FSO for full spectrum oil. It's just it's like Rick Simpson oil, except you're not using naphtha as a solvent. You're using grain alcohol. But we call it FSO, so full spectrum oil. And
I've done that. Yes.
Okay, so we used that, and he put that in a Kool-Aid. So I had a double strength one of those and a single strength one of those, but I don't know what strength they were. Also on that trip. And we were smoking the whole time, so that was cool.
Yeah. Quite a THC lace trip there. Now,
just make sure we were fully saturated.
Right. Now you came from an agricultural background, I think you said, in your childhood.
Yeah, my very first job I ever worked, probably all through middle school and through most of high school, I worked on a farm. That was my job. I worked on a big agricultural farm. We just mostly plants. They had some animals like chickens and pigs, but nothing really big. We didn't have cows or anything like that.
What kind of plants were they raising there?
Mostly field. So you're going to have, like, we had corn. We did have berries. We had strawberry fields and raspberries. We did a lot of vegetables like tomatoes. A lot of it was hand-picked in these big fields. But it was tomatoes. We did broccoli. We did cauliflower. So a lot of like your traditional vegetables.
big ag monocropping.
Well, it was more like a small farm. It wasn't. It is like a big egg as compared to our kind of growing at home. Yeah, but as far as no, not a big huge tractor. It was the one-wheeled tractor. You know, it wasn't the double, triple wheel, and it was all super old equipment. But we made it work.
We would call that craft farming now, maybe. If I don't really know if that's a term or not, but anyway. So, but that's where your love from agriculture came from, though.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I always just had a love for plants. It was always a thing that it just amazed me that you could grow your own food. What, you know what I mean? And,
exactly. Yeah.
So to me,
changes your world.
Yeah, and as a youth, I was tricked by my uncle one time. He played a trick on me. He lived next door to us, and he always had this huge garden. And he saw us one time. We were out in the backyard playing, and we spit our gum out in the yard. And he said, "Don't be doing that. You're going to be getting," what was it? Or whatever it was. He convinced us if we saved it and he buried it, it would grow a gum tree. And
oh my gosh.
So we saved it for the whole whatever week or whatever. We planted it over in his garden, and then he waited X amount of times. And then he must have stuck a branch or something in the ground. But he stuck a branch in the ground, and he had packages of gum. Thinking back, it's so dumb, but packages of gum, like rubber band to the branches, like it grew there. And we 100% believed it. And you should, I mean, I don't know how many things of gum we planted around that yard, but we only had that one gum tree ever sprout for us.
Well, those are the kind of things you'll never forget. Those are the memories you'll always have.
Yeah, man, that's kind of thing I do to my kids. That's funny. So you grow professionally as well in the legal state of Michigan.
Yeah, I work at Mint Canico, so I still consider us craft size, even though we can grow 3,000 plants.
Whoa.
We do it at a craft level. You know what I mean? We have 6 flower rooms. Each room right now, we're playing with numbers per room. The most we have in one room is 180 plants right now.
Whoa.
The least we have is, I think, 100, between 140 or 150 might be the lowest amount. It's looking like we're going to settle on about 150. It looks like that 180 is a little bit tight, but.
And these are grown in cocoa, right?
Yes, everything's in Royal Gold Tupper is what we use. We don't use Canna Cocoa because we failed heavy metal testing our very first harvest because of Canna Cocoa.
Mm-hmm. I've heard this before, yeah.
Yeah, so we went to Tupper, and so far we've had countless harvests since and been fine. So
sweet.
We're sticking with them. Yep. So we have 6 of those flower rooms that we run, and generally they're all the same strain, where they're monocropped. So it's the same strain in every room, not in every room, same strain per room, if that makes sense. And it's pretty cool because when I was interviewing for jobs, I worked, I lived in Michigan. We're a big manufacturing state. The big 3 auto companies were kind of here in Detroit, General Motors, Ford, all them. So there's factories, and it's kind of that kind of a feel. And that's where I grew up in that kind of environment. My jobs, after the farm, I got a job in a factory, and I worked in a factory, and that's how I supported myself and my family. But the whole time as a grower, I mean, that's your dream. As you saw legalization comes, like, man, wouldn't it be nice to, wouldn't it be nice to have your own grow? Well, for me, I was like, I know I don't have the capital. You need to, for example, Mint Canico is a new building. The new building, just to build a building, was like $1 million.
Yeah.
So it's not like attainable cash. It's not like I have that sitting in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So what I decided was like, okay, if I'm going to play in this game, instead of sitting out and just dreaming about it, I'm going to go work for somebody but I'm going to make sure that the people that I work for have at least the same kind of ideals that I do. I don't want big business style grows. I want caregiver. That's where I came. That's how I was a grower. I was a caregiver.
Right.
In Michigan, there's patients who can't or don't want to grow, but they can give up their plant count to a caregiver to grow for them. So that was where I came from. I came from the medical side of the plant, of healing, of the healing aspect, and that kind of viewpoint. So I felt strongly about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would interview at jobs, when businesses were opening, they put jobs up, and you go on Indeed, you know, and here's marijuana grow. It's wild, you know what I mean? But
Crazy to
so,
think, man. You know, to be able
yeah,
to do it as a profession legally.
yeah. And
Wow.
so, yeah, and just to be able to see it before your eyes change, because you're so used to the big negative stigma, you know what I mean? But so I'm on Indeed and I'm seeing all these growing jobs and things. I'm applying for everything, but I go in there in interviews, and for one, I have a nice Instagram, you know what I mean? That what's a better resume than that? You know what I mean? I'm like, look,
Yeah, really.
this is what I can do. What, you know, show me what you can do. You know what I mean? I had the attitude that I was going in there interviewing them because I didn't want to work for an asshole, honestly.
Yeah.
So when I went to Mitten Canico, it was the first place I went into that I did. You could be deaf and not hear a word that was being said, and just walk in there and look around and can tell this was designed by somebody who's a grower, somebody who knows the fuck they're doing, because everything is just is just perfectly done. And then I got talking to the owner. My interview was with the owner and the COO. So it would have been Steven, who is Mitten Gardens, and Michigan Matt, both on Instagram. And I already knew Matt from prior. He was a friend of mine through have you guys ever heard of the Do Grow show on YouTube? Okay.
Yeah,
So
popular one.
Okay, so we were DGC members, and we would always meet up and see each other and hang out at the Cannabis Cups. You know, oh, you're going to be there? Yeah, I'm going to be there. And we coordinate and hang out and smoke. So we knew each other that way. Well, so when I interviewed and it was him, I was like, oh, sweet, I know him. You know what I mean?
Sweet,
so it just went so well, and everything that they had done, and like I was asking them all kinds of like growing questions, or why they did this or why they did that, and there was all the right answers.
Sweet, man.
So I told them, I was like, all right, I'm in the factory right now, guys. I'm gonna need to at least give them a 2 weeks notice. How about I come and work, part-time here, and then if I like it, I'll quit my other job. I said, but I just got to try to feel you guys out. They're like, all right, cool. I'm not kidding you. Before I even left the first day working at Mitten Canico, I was like, hey guys, don't worry about that 2 week notice. I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, I mean, I gave up a huge paying job too. I mean, I took like an $8 an hour pay cut.
Wow.
To go there, and I gave up all benefits. They didn't have. I mean, they're brand new coming out. They had no health care. They had no anything.
It's not.
I've been there a year. Yeah, but I've been there, and I've already got not even a year yet. Actually, I'm coming up on my year here in about a week, but I already got a $2 an hour raise, and I've already got benefits coming next month. So I mean, it's working out.
And you get to do something you love for a job, And there's that old saying: "Find a job you love, and you'll never go to work again."
Exactly.
That's what you are.
That's so true.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing is like, I always heard that, and it sounds like, oh, that's a cliche. What the fuck ever that means, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But until I did something crazy like that and made that step, and I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I want, not what fucking everybody wants me to do. Fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want. And then, like the money difference is an adjustment, but at the same time, the benefit of like the weight that comes off your shoulders, of the stress of going the wrong direction, and then feel like now you're going in the right direction. It's just like, that's worth all the money in the world.
I know exactly.
Looking forward to getting up and going to work is a big difference to getting up and going, fuck, I have to go into this place again.
And
makes a huge difference even in your personality, in what you present to the world.
Yeah, and how about this? When you go to work, you're part of a team. It's not some bullshit place where the head guy doesn't even know your fucking name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to a work where the head guy is, he's right there, arm's length away from you, doing the same goddamn thing you're doing. That's fucking amazing to me, because I've never experienced that in a workplace before. Because like I said before, I was a number on a punch card. You know what I mean? You're a cog in the wheel.
Just making money for some
part
guy.
of a team.
When everybody's in it for the win, then you get it's so much easier to go to work because there's no bullshit, like you said. That's awesome.
where you work is a second family at the end of the day.
Right. So
Yeah, 100%. I'm spending more time with them than I am with my family. So, I mean, they are for you're 100% right. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important. You can, like I said, I was interviewing them kind of more than they were interviewing me, but that's an important step because you just like you said, you're almost signing up to live with them. You know what I mean? So you want to know a little bit about them, ask those questions.
Well, I work with me husband, with my father, and with 3 of my best friends in the real world. I have a great job. Not that I have a great job. Sorry, no, let me correct it. I have a great time in work. Every day is a good laugh, a joke. You have a bit of fun. It makes it way more enjoyable.
Oh, hell yeah! And that's like people. Yeah, that's my answer when people say, "How the hell do you go to work all day long and take care of plants, and then go home and take care of plants?" I'm like, because that's what I fucking love to do. That's what I love to do.
Ask any grower that question, you'll get the same exact answer.
One day I hope to be like that in the UK.
I got a question for you. You said that I guess your biggest flowering room is 180 plants, and that is it's like you said, it's not huge when you compare it to some of the stuff out there. Here in Canada, lots of the big companies, the corporate guys they brag about their 1 million square foot or more, growing space in these warehouses and stuff. But so far, legalization in Canada has been kind of in the beginning it was a novelty, but now people are kind of coming around and realizing that the product being put out by these giant companies is not maybe what it should be, and leaving room for a lot of these smaller micros and the craft kind of community to come up and fill that void. I'm just wondering, like in Michigan, is there a big corporate I guess version of the canna industry, or is it more grassroots, like a whole bunch of little guys like you guys around?
That's a great question. And the answer is a little bit of both. But right now, because of the way that the laws are, it's in the recreational market, it was written into the law that you can't even get a recreational license unless you already held a medical license. And why that's important is to get a medical license, you have to have been a resident of the state for X amount of years. I think it was only 2. It might have been longer, but you had to have been a resident for at least 2 years. So that kept like outside big conglomerates from coming in and setting up shop. I'm not saying it didn't happen. To get around that, they'll get somebody who lives here and then have investment groups behind them. But so nice there idea. Are, yeah. So it's slowed that down anyway, I guess is what my point is. And we do have some big companies here for sure. And they have stacked licenses. And in fact, they even changed some laws to allow stacking more licenses. I just actually shout out to Rasta Bob. You might have seen him on the Embracing Organics show, but he's from Jamaica, but he's consulting on a farm up here in Michigan. And I was video chatting with him over Instagram, and he was showing me his operation about 2 hours north of me. And wow, dude. So he's dealing with acres.
That's a lot of weed.
Yeah, and it's all under trellis. I mean, it was an old blueberry, so it had all the stakes and everything in the ground already. So they just using the stakes to hang trellis netting. You should have acres under trellising, and each plant has got a. I don't know if he said he had them all done or not, but as far as that I could see on the phone was like wood raised beds around each plant.
Wow.
I'm just like, wow, and then he's got 7 greenhouses that he's just got clones in right now. Just massive operation. So we're talking that, that's there. And so, but I think that there's still, I mean, right now there's a huge, demand for flower still.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's because everybody's sitting at home. They have nothing else to do. So, yes, I think there's big companies, and I think eventually as legalization pushes even more legal, we'll say, and maybe less regulated, hopefully, that for sure eventually down the road what we're going to see is just like in the alcohol industry, the big factory produced mids, but mids are fine for probably the vast majority of the consumer base.
Sure.
So I'm fine with those. I don't hate on those companies because I see that I'd rather have more weed in people's hands than less weed in people's hands, even if that means that weed's going to be mids, because at least they're getting some medicine. You know what I mean? I come from that caregiver background, so that's always in my head.
At least some safe medicine.
Yeah, and at the same time, that's going to get people used to cannabis and start to really pay attention to it and maybe desire something better.
Exactly.
You know, okay, now I've had mids my whole life. I'm going to treat myself. It's my birthday. Let me get the top shelf this time and see what that's like. Oh, I tried that. That stuff's really great. I can smoke half as much of that and get better than what I can smoke for a whole week on this other stuff. I'm just going to, even though it costs me more money, it's saving me money. You know what I mean? So, because you can use less of it. Yeah. So that's where I see the craft, just like the craft breweries are still out there killing it. I think there's going to be, I consider our size craft size.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm sure there's other licenses that are called like the micro businesses, but those are more like a one person operation. You know what I mean? A small operation. They're restricted to 150 plants. So where I see Mint and Canico is just like, I guess, commercial sized craft. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. You know, craft, I mean, big enough to where we can spread our flower around instead of just at one dispensary.
Regional.
Exactly. So we're not so big to where, you know, we can touch every single plant every single day. We can give that much care.
That's the important thing. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, there's only there's 5 of us that work there, 5 total employees. And that's the owner, the COO, and the 3 gardeners. You know what I mean? So, and we're dealing with, well, I don't even know what that plant count is. I know it's under the 3,000 plant count. So it's under 3,000 plants, but it's, you know, at least, you know, probably on average 150, we'll say 150 plants per flower room. We have 6 flower rooms. We have 2 veg rooms. You know, the veg space also has moms and young plants. But, so whatever that plant count comes out to, it's over 1,000 for sure. So
it's a lot of care.
Depends on how you grow too. Yeah, the square footage here in Canada that the micros are allowed to work with is 2,150 square feet. So I don't know. I guess you can do with that space what you want depending on your style of grow, but it's not very big. And
no, but that's a way smarter on whoever the regulators, whoever the government, or whoever wrote that. That tells me they had intelligent design there, because here in Michigan, where we are restricted to plant count, I mean, if we had unlimited cash, we could go under a greenhouse or outside and grow complete monster plants and fill out that 1,000, you know, have 1,000 plants, but grow 10 pounds per plant. It's ridiculous that they don't have square footage. I mean, that's
square footage is the major factor, really.
Yeah. So you guys are lucky. It sounds like you guys have a little bit of intelligence making the rules, so that's a plus.
Yeah, don't say that too loud, but yeah.
So Spartan, what's going on in the future for you? You got anything coming up?
I'm just gonna. My plans at home. My personal life is in kind of a turmoil. I'm going through a divorce, so that's not great. But so let's put a lot of things. Yeah, it is what it is, man. So, so it's looking like that. I've kind of put everything on hold right now because of that, because it's just some unknowns, you know, like, hey, is this going to be my house or is this not going to be my house? But, that's getting all sorted out. And my plans for myself is I really want to, I'm a big fan. I've been watching these talks on Future Cannabis Project, also on YouTube. Cool. They put I can't even keep up with all their stuff, but they put out mad information and I just love it. And Collectimus Coot, especially, because he just says what he feels. And he did a 5-hour episode not that long ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And if you can sit through that, maybe when you're trimming or something, be ready to start laughing your ass off, because he does not care what he says. He just says it straight, and just love the dude. He's inspired me to go further on my organic pursuit. I want to get to the point where I want to end up is I want to get to the point to where when I harvest my plant on my planters, I wheel them out. They're also on wheels. Another thing I love about them. Maybe amend the top and then replant right into it. I don't want to have to even take soil out anymore. I want to just keep reusing.
Sweet, man.
So I'm going to be running some tests and trying to figure that out. That's kind of what I'll be dabbling in. I'm going to try to keep using my sip containers, just reuse the medium. To do that, I think, Coots kind of inspired me also to up my game on vermicompost. I have a worm bin and I use it, but I've not been using it enough. And I'm not using it, I don't think, as effectively as I could. I could add different inputs. So I'm going to do more looking into that and learning how to use my worm bin better. So, or maybe also I'm thinking about expanding it, like maybe having 2, 3, 4 worm bins so I can really have more of it and use that more. The idea is like all your inputs that you put into your soil, just run it through your worm bin instead. Then your worm castings are going to be, rich and already some of it pre-digested by the microbes that are in your worm bin. That's kind of what my mind's playing with these last few, months. And as I watch those, I'm more inspired. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing for, the rest of this year, trying to figure that out.
So where can we find you online, Spartan?
Yeah, the best place is Instagram. Just look me up on at Spartan Grown on Instagram. Or if you want to see more of the commercial scale stuff, look at Mitten Canico. Those are the 2 Instagrams.
That's all linked up in your Instagram description, isn't it?
I'm sure it is. I don't know if yep. Just go to my Instagram. It's all up on there.
Sweet.
Yeah, my description's got Mitten Canico. Just click on that. It'll take you right to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we should move on to the what the fuck was that section. So thanks for the interview, man. It's been good getting to know Spartan a little bit more,